Hi guys, and welcome to another Watch Geek video. Today we're doing a detailed tutorial of the module 5229 that's in this GA120 GShock. Now, just like in all my other tutorial videos, in the description you will find a table of content with time codes, so you can jump to specific parts of the video or functions of the watch. However, I would advise you to watch the whole video the first time, just so you get acquainted with all the functions that this watch has. Now, the first thing that I'm going to show you is how to check and correct the hand's position, because this is something you will have to do whenever you change the battery. Because when you change the battery in a GShock, it assumes it's midnight, because the module gets reset. So unless you change the battery exactly at midnight, the hands are going to get misaligned, because just like on all other analog digital GShocks, you actually set up the digital screen, and then the hands get synced to that. Now, to correct the position of the hands and to check it, you have to be in the home screen, and you're going to recognize it by having the day of the week displayed here. If you're in any other mode, simply toggle or cycle with the mode button until you reach the home screen. Once in the home screen, you press and hold this lower button for more than 5 seconds until you have H set written here, which is the hand setting mode. So press and hold, and there, it just beeped and it said H set. The first hand that you're gonna set up is the subdial hand, thus the sub inscription right here. Now, this hand is gonna be moved in 1 second increments by pressing this lower button, and sadly you can go only one way and you cannot speed scroll, so you have to press it real fast until you reach midnight or exactly 12. So you want this hand to point exactly upwards. So let's move it until we reach that position, like so. So if the hand is pointing anywhere other than like this, you have to correct it with this hand, or with this button. Once you've done that, you press the mode button, and the watch is going to ask you for the hour and minute hand. And they have to show at midnight. They have to show midnight or exactly upwards as well. In case they don't, you have to correct them. Now, these hands can be moved both clockwise and counterclockwise. And another thing, the minute hand is actually connected with the hour hand, so moving one moves the other. And you can also speed scroll like this. If you press and hold the button, it's gonna start moving the hands, and they're gonna stop when you press any of these two buttons. So stop it, correct it to be more precise, and that's it. Once all of your hands are pointing like this in the hand setting mode, that means that the hands are set up correctly. To exit the hand setting mode, you simply press the upper button or the adjust button, like so, and the hands move to the correct position, reflecting the time displayed here. Now, once you've set up the hands, and now you're ready to set up the time, the date, the time zone, and all the other settings on this watch. To do so, you have to again be in the home screen, and while in the home screen, you press and hold the adjust button for more than 3 seconds until it enters the settings screen, like so. The first thing that the watch is going to ask you is the home city. Now, it's very important to set up this correctly, because all the times in the world time function are calculated based on this. Also, you don't have to find the exact city you live in. That would be impossible. But you have to find the biggest city in your time zone, because that is definitely going to be in this memory. So you can go due east, you can go due west. Let's go back to London. Pressing the mode button, the watch is going to ask you whether you want the DST on or off. This is the summertime. So in the summer, if your time zone observes DST or daylight savings time, you would toggle it on with this lower button. Since it's currently at on, we're going to toggle it off since it's winter. To toggle it off, you press the lower button, and as you can see, the time changes accordingly. So 9:57, 10:57, 9:57, 10:57. So when you have those changes between summertime and wintertime, you don't change the hours, you simply change the DST on or off. Once you've set up that, you press the mode button, and the watch is going to ask you whether you want a 12 or 24-hour display. 12-hour display is going to use the AM/PM indicators, so 10:58 p.m. If you toggle it with the lower button, the watch is going to switch to the military display saying 22:58. Let's leave it like this. Press the mode button again. The watch is going to ask you for the seconds. Now, to reset the seconds, you press the lower button. If you reset the seconds between 30 and 59, the seconds are going to jump to 0, but the minutes are going to move by 1 up. So now it's 22:58, it's past 30 seconds. If we reset it now, it's going to jump to 59. If, however, you reset the seconds between 0 and 29, so under 30 seconds, the seconds are going to go to 0, but the minutes are going to stay unchanged. So let's do it now, like so. Pressing the mode button again, the watch is going to ask you for the hours. Now with the hours, you can go up, you can go down, and you can also speed scroll. So up, down, and speed scrolling by pressing and holding the button until you release. Let's go back to 22. Pressing the mode button again, the watch is going to ask you for the minutes. So again, you can go up, you can go down, and you can also speed scroll. Like so. Pressing the mode button again, the watch is going to ask you for the year. So again, you can go up, you can go down, and naturally you can speed scroll. Pressing the mode button again, the watch is going to ask you for the month. So February, March, April. Let's go back to February. And again, it's going to ask you, if you press the mode button again, it's going to ask you for the date. So again, you can go up, you can go down. The day of the week is calculated based on what you input as a year, month, and date. So the watch is not going to ask you that. But there are some additional settings that the watch is going to ask you. So if you press the mode button, the watch is going to ask you how long you want the backlight to be on when you press the button. LT3, it's going to be the light is going to stay on for 3 seconds. If you toggle it with the lower button to LT1, it's going to stay on for 1.5 seconds. Since I like it as long as possible, we'll put it to LT3. Pressing the mode button again, the watch cycles back to the home city selection. So if you missed anything or set up anything incorrectly, you simply cycle it until you go back to it. If you want to exit the adjusting screen, since you set up everything the way you want to, you press the adjust button, and the watch jumps back to the home screen. And that's pretty much it. So while in the home screen, like I said, pressing this doesn't do anything. Pressing and holding is going to enter the adjusting screen. Pressing the lower button will toggle what this little screen displays. So whether it's going to be calendar data, so month, date, seconds, or hours, minutes, seconds. This one always displays day of the week. Pressing and holding this, like I said, is going to enter the hand setting mode. Pressing the upper button is going to activate this little backlight right here. It has a little LED. That's going to turn itself off after 3 seconds because we set it up like that in the adjusting screen. Now this watch also has an auto light. So to turn that on, you press and hold the light button for more than 3 seconds until this dot, this black dot here, becomes gray. So let's press and hold. And there, it just disappeared, so it's no longer black. And now if we put the watch level and tilt it to our face, it's gonna light up like this. Again, put it level, tilt it to your face, and the little LED goes off. Since this is not a solar watch, meaning that it doesn't know or this is gonna work even when there's enough light, it's gonna run the battery pretty quickly. So to save the battery, the watch is gonna turn off the function within 6 hours, or you can manually turn it off by pressing and holding the light button until this little dot becomes black again. So press and hold, and there, we turned off the auto light. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the home screen. Now moving on to the next function. The next function is the stopwatch. This watch has a 24-hour stopwatch that can measure down to 1/1000th of a second. It can be a split stopwatch, it can be a lap stopwatch. You toggle those by pressing the adjust button while the stopwatch is not running. So if we select the split stopwatch, it's going to be a regular split stopwatch that we've seen in many Casio watches. So using the lower button, you can start it, you can stop it, you can reset it with the upper button, adjust button. You can do the split times. So you start it, pressing this button is going to freeze the screen, but the stopwatch keeps running in the background. To press it again, when you press it again, you unfreeze the screen, and as you can see, the stopwatch just left off. You can also do the first and second place. So if you have the 2 runners, when the first one goes through the finish line, you press this upper button and you have to write down the time. When you press the lower button, it's gonna display the time of the second runner. And pressing the adjust button again resets the stopwatch. Lap stopwatch does almost the same thing, with the only difference being that when you start it and you press this, not only does it freeze the screen, but it also restarts the stopwatch. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I press it now again, the stopwatch actually resets. So if I press it again, you will see that it displays the lap number at 4 seconds. Now again, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's always restarting from 0, and it's writing here the number of laps. Sadly, this watch doesn't have lap memory, so if you want to remember any of these laps, you have to write them down somewhere because they don't stay in the watch's memory. To stop it again, you press this to reset. And that's pretty much it. The final thing that the stopwatch can do is calculate average speeds between your trips, between point A and point B. So if you're going on a road trip, if you're going to a bike ride or a run, if you know the distance that you're going to run or go to, you can input that distance into the watch, and then you start the stopwatch when you're starting the journey, you stop it when you end the journey, and the watch is going to display or show you the average speed. Now, to input that distance while the stopwatch is not running, you press and hold the adjust button. And now the watch is gonna write distance, and it can go from 1 to 99. And you can also do the tens by pressing the mode button and doing the 10 from 1 to 9. Thanks to this, you can input any distance you want. So if you input something more than 100, you simply add a 0 to the result that the watch displays. Another thing that a lot of people ask me when I do these tutorials is, where do you input the unit? You don't have to input the unit because the watch just gives you X per hour. So unit per hour. It will give you a number, and depending on what you input as the distance. So if you took point A and point B, and they're, let's say, 60 miles. If you input 60 here, the watch is gonna give you a number, and since you input 60 miles, you know that you input miles, it will be miles per hour. If you took that same exact distance and you want the speed in kilometers per hour, you have to input kilometers inside, and 60 miles is roughly 100 kilometers, so you would change the distance to 100, and that way the watch would again display the correct average speed in kilometers per hour. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Now we'll leave it at 1 so we can test it and see how the watch displays different speeds, because 1 is pretty simple. So press the adjust button and you exit. So now this watch is set up to 1, let's say 1 mile per hour. So if I start the stopwatch, if you do 1 mile in 1 full minute, that's the speed of 60 miles per hour. So if we do it in half the time, it's going to be double the speed. So if we stop this stopwatch at 30 seconds, it should display 120 miles per hour. So that's what we're going to try to do by pressing this. Now I might overshoot it by a couple of tens of seconds, but I'll try to be as accurate as possible. 29, 30. There. And now this display here, as you can see, you have thousands and hundreds. So here everything is empty, so no thousands. On the hundreds you have one little block, so it's 100. And you read off of this hand 1020, so 120 miles per hour average speed. So it actually calculated it correctly. If we do that same 1 mile in 15 seconds, so half the time, we're gonna get double the speed. So it should display 240 miles per hour. So let's stop it at 15 and see how it works. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, 15. And now we have 2 dots at 100. So 100, 200, 20, 30, 40, 50, so 240. So as you can see, the watch calculated the average speed again correctly. Now, if you do, let's say 1 mile in, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds, we're gonna do that just to show you how thousands work. So press 1, 2, 3, 4, there. And now we stopped at 1 mile in 4 seconds is going to end up with 1,000. As you can see, you have 2 blocks in thousands. So 1,000, 2,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2,560, 2,560 miles per hour. Since this watch does have its limit, which is, I believe, 3,000 or 4,000 miles per hour or kilometers per hour, if you do 1 mile in, let's say, a second, which is very, very, very fast, start it, stop it right now. Since the watch cannot display that speed because it's too high for the capability that it has, it's just going to move this little hand to over, meaning that you're going over the speed of what this watch can display. And that's pretty much it. So let's reset the stopwatch. And that's it. So that's it when it comes to the stopwatch. Let's move on to the next function. The next function is the countdown timer. This watch comes with a 24-hour countdown timer settable down to the minute, and it also has the option of having an auto repeat. So if you set it up like this, you started with the lower button. Once it reaches 0, it's gonna stop and it's gonna beep to signify that the timer has reached 0. You can naturally stop it whenever you want and reset with the upper button. You can also set it up to any time desired between 1 minute and 24 hours, and you can also toggle whether you want it to be an auto repeat or one-time timer. To do so, you press and hold the adjust button, like so. Now you input the hours. So let's say we input 4 hours. To input the minutes, you press the mode button and you input the minutes. If you want to change the type of timer, whether you want it to be a one-time or auto repeat, you simply press the mode button again and the watch is going to ask you which countdown timer you want it to be. And now you can toggle it to auto repeat or one time. Let's put it to auto repeat. To exit the adjusting screen, you press the adjust button and now you start it again. And now once this timer reaches 0 after 4 hours and 4 minutes, it's gonna beep to signify that it reached 0, but it's automatically gonna restart itself. And it's gonna keep doing it until you go into the countdown timer and stop it by pressing the lower button. I personally love this thing. Not only can you use it for interval training, but you can also use it when you're taking medications every 4 hours, 5, 8. You don't have to calculate what times of day those are, but you simply input the interval here, select the auto repeat function, and you start the countdown timer. And as long as you're taking that medication, the watch is gonna beep every 4, 5, or 8 hours, whatever you set it, and restart itself. So it's a pretty useful function. Well, that's it when it comes to the countdown timer, so let's move on to the next function. Okay, the next function that we're gonna cover is the world time function. This watch can display, I believe, 31 time zones and 48 cities. And you toggle between these cities by using this lower button. Sadly, you can only go due east, you cannot go due west. So if you miss the time zone that you want, you have to cycle all the way around the globe to get back to it. Now, in the world time function and in all other functions, the hands are always displaying the home time, while the world time function is displayed here and the city code of the observed world time function is displayed here. So New York City, let's move on. We have whatever, let's go to Rio, UTC, Lisbon, London, Madrid, Paris, and as you can see, as I'm cycling, the time here is changing. Now you can change the DST setting for each one of these time zones individually except UTC. So you can turn or toggle the DST on or off by pressing and holding this adjust button. So you select a time zone, let's say Tehran, and you want to turn the DST on for that time zone. You press and hold the adjust button. The watch beeps, says DST is on, and it changed the time by 1 hour, as you can see, to 2:33. To toggle it back off, you press and hold. The watch beeps and the time goes down by 1 hour. And the final thing that you can do in this world time function is the swap between home city and world city. This is pretty useful when you travel. So let's say you're traveling to Tehran from London and you have London time displayed using these hands and Tehran time displayed using this small display. Once you land there, you don't want to view the local time on this screen. It's pretty impractical and hard to see. You want the local time to be displayed with these easy to read hands, but you still want to keep track of your home time in London so you know when to call people. So you don't have to go and manually set up everything on the watch. You simply go into the world time function, you select the time zone where you landed, and you press these two buttons simultaneously, which is going to cause the watch to switch between the two. So as you can see, now we have London as the world time, we have the time in London, and the hands are going to the Tehran time. Once you go back home to London, you want to switch it back, you simply press again these two buttons and they're gonna switch back. This is also very important because all the alarms are actually connected to what the home time is. So if you're in Tehran, to set up the alarm, if you set it up using home time as London, it's gonna go off when that time is in London, not in Tehran. But if you switch it like this and make Tehran your home or your world time, you make it a home time, then all the alarms are gonna be correct. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the world time function. So moving on. The next function is the alarm function. This watch comes with 5 alarms, with one being a snooze, and it also has the option of an hourly chime. Now to toggle between the alarms or cycle through the alarms, you press the lower button. So alarm 1, alarm 2, alarm 3. When you go to a certain alarm, it's gonna say what alarm that is, what is the time that it's set for, and whether it's on or off. So alarm 4, alarm 5, and the hourly chime or SIG. Now to toggle any of these on or off, you press the adjust button. So if we want the hourly chime to be on, which is when the watch beeps every full hour, you go to the SIG and you press the adjust button. It's gonna say on, and you're gonna have this little indicator. So as you can see, when the SIG is off, when the hourly chime is off, it's black. When it's gray, it means the hourly chime is on. Let's move on. You can do it with any of the alarms. So you select alarm 2, you want to turn it on, you press the adjust button, and now this indicator here, as you can see ALM, now the alarm is no longer black. When it's off, it's black. When it's on, it's like this. Now this indicator is going to be on no matter which of the alarms is on. So if you have only one alarm turned on and all of them are off, this indicator is going to be like this. So all the alarms have to be turned off for this to be black. And if you select the snooze alarm, you're going to have the SNZ indicator here and the alarm both on. So as you can see, both of these dots are black. If we press this, now they're both gray. Now the snooze alarm is different because it's going to keep snoozing. So once you stop it by pressing any of the buttons, when it goes off, it's going to repeat itself after 10 minutes or 5 minutes until you go into the snooze alarm and turn it off by pressing the adjust button. And naturally, any of the alarms can be set to any desired time. And even if the alarm is turned off, once you start setting it up by pressing and holding the adjust button, it's going to turn itself automatically on, and you keep it pressed until you enter the adjusting screen of the alarm. And this works just like the home time and just like the countdown timer. So using these two buttons, you can go up, you can go down. So let's say we select 6, press the mode button, the watch is going to ask you for the minutes, and now let's go to 5, and to exit the adjusting screen of the alarm, you press the adjust button. And now this watch is gonna beep at 6:05 a.m. every day because these are all daily alarms. To turn off this alarm, again, you don't have to go back to midnight, you can simply press this and now it's been turned off. And that's pretty much it. Pressing the mode button again, the watch jumps back to the home screen. Anyways, this completes the full tutorial for the module 5229, so I really do hope you found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and until the next video, bye.